It wasn't my idea to have a museum. It was a personal collection that I had been collecting all my life. And I started collecting because somebody told me that I wasn't worth it. My grandmother was a maid um, for important people. As a kid, I would sit in the corner in the kitchen and wipe down the silverware. One of my first dolls that I had was a white doll that my grandmother took apart. She would put it in a pot and she would put grit dye in the pot, black dye, and she would dye it black. And that's how that's how I got my first black doll. Space has been canceled. It's the insurance. We don't have space. We don't need insurance. My father was a strong black man. He taught us about the hangings that he saw and how he left home when he was 14 because he grew up down south in Mississippi and he watched men being hung. And so he ran because of the discrimination and the racism that was down south. And I moved into Dorchester in 1962. And I was petrified because I was going to be the first black kid in this all-white Irish school. This teacher put me in the back of the class, and whenever I went to go ask a question and I would raise my hand, he would walk down the aisles and say, "Monkeys can't learn. You're always going to be a maid. You can only be a maid. There's no point in you learning." I was in the 3rd grade. I knew he was wrong. I knew I was smart and I could learn anything. So I would study so that if he ever asked me a question, I would have the answer. I came home crying because I think this teacher had one day just worked my nerves. And my grandmother is saying to me, "You're not supposed to let people get to you like that. You're supposed to know where you come from." And she grabs this bottle and she takes these seeds, this rice, these seeds, and she's filling it up. And she's telling me about this girl in Africa that was supposed to become this princess. These slave traders had came from Europe and they had snatched her. She's telling me this whole history. And she's telling me about this little girl that was going to become this princess and that they could not break her because she knew who she was. And she was better than all of that. And she created this doll out of nothing. I was so fascinated. She said, "Now you go to school and you take this doll with you. And whenever somebody tries to tell you that you're worth nothing, you remember that you can make anything out of nothing and you can always be somebody." And so that made me want to find a doll that looked like me. So that started being this wonderful kind of thing, looking for black dolls and saying, "This one doesn't look like me, but I love this one anyway because I like this shade and I want this doll, and this doll kind of looks like my daughter, and this one represents my son, and this one comes from this country, and I should teach them this language. And then what about what happened during slavery? And look at these people that survived." And so it brings all this rich history together. So dolls can be a wonderful thing. And so it was therapeutic, And so, yeah, that's why I collect black dolls. It's a wonderful history.